Oh my goodness. I read The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. I read her two other books earlier this year, The Nanny and The Fake Mate. And I liked this book. You can see I like this book. And it's interesting because I feel like this book is so much more basic than the other books that she's written. The Nanny was a surprise. There was a shift away from that trope that I really enjoyed. I liked The Fake Mate. I thought setting it so modern, so normal in the regular world was really fun. It is a brother's best friend hockey romance. Now, the plot around them is a little bit more exciting. There's some drama regarding Ian, the MMC, and then there's Delilah, Lila, or D. A lot of nicknames for her, the FMC. Ian has a lot of drama around his public reputation and around the team that he has returned home to. He's the son of the owner. He left in disgrace following a scandal where there was an assumption of cheating on his wife, which is not true, and his father basically said you should leave. So he left and is now back. Delilah has had a crush on Ian her whole teenage life since she really knew what crushes were, and having him back is a surprise. This is one of those friends to lovers that I didn't mind because it's been so long since they've seen each other. Delilah went through puberty. It is very reasonable to me that Ian didn't develop romantic feelings for Delilah when he viewed her still as a child. That makes sense. I support that. But now that they're back together, sparks ignite. Delilah has a baking show, and in order to pull up numbers, she gets one of her brother's hockey friends to be on the show with her, which of course is Ian. There's a lot of chemistry, and social media blows up assuming they're dating. So they sort of fake date-ish in order to repair Ian's reputation and build up Delilah's ratings, her numbers for her show. Their relationship is very simple because once they get together, once they start this flirtation, it's done. It's solid. This also didn't have a third act breakup. I really appreciated that one. Appreciated the lack of a third act breakup in this one. But their relationship wasn't terribly interesting. To me, it was fine. They got together and they stayed together while drama around them ensued. And that is a perfectly valid thing. Her brother, the best friend and the brother, oh my gosh, he is maybe one of my favorite characters. He needs his own book. There's a lot of family drama. There's Ian's ex-wife who is queer, and friends of Delilah's who are queer and POC, and there's a lot around them that made me really excited. But the two of them were just kind of okay. The spice in this was up to snuff for Lana Ferguson to me. It felt less exciting in some ways and then more exciting in others. There are toys in this book, which I rarely ever see toys being used, and I want that. People use toys. I would love to see more toys being used to take away the stigma of using toys with a partner, that your partner's not enough, that your body's broken, all of the things that go along with using toys to achieve orgasm, even when engaging in intimacy with a partner. Let's break those barriers, y'all. But this book did something that I'm noticing is a trend, and I want to stop it. It's using terms that are associated with kink without delivering on kink. He calls her a brat, and quite honestly, I think he has no idea what that means, but Lana Ferguson does. Lana knows what that means. Being a brat is typically part of a kink dynamic, and hinting at kink without delivering on kink, I don't appreciate, because it feels kind of like you use this word because you thought it would be salacious, but you didn't do that word justice. She isn't bratting. That's not their dynamic. That's not what's happening. And it feels almost like a lie, especially when repeated so often in a sexual context. So, is this my favorite book of hers? No. Is it a bad book? Also, no. I genuinely enjoyed reading it. I genuinely enjoyed the bigger plot around them, the reveal of that story, and the people that they engaged with. But if you asked me which book of hers I would suggest, it's not gonna be this one first. I forgot how much I like Grandma. I went to see Catharina Maura, and I realized I had paused my reading of The Windsors, which isn't even her first series, but it's the one that I started, so it's the one that I'm continuing. This is The Unwanted Marriage. It is Faye and Dion's story. Faye and Dion have been engaged since they were children. Faye is about 10 years younger than Dion, so she was really a child, and he was a teenager. Dion holds a lot of guilt and remorse because he views the plane crash that killed his parents and Faye's mother as his fault. We don't need to get into why. He's been holding himself back from Faye, partially because she was a freaking kid. She's very, very young, and he didn't want to do anything when she was a teenager. Good on you, sir. Good on you. But Grandma has decreed the time has come for them to get married. Now they're being forced to interact together in a more public and a more intimate way. It's not just I see you at an event, I dance with you at my sister's wedding, I can avoid you at this charity gala. They have to build this life together. Faye's home life is terrible. Her father is abusive. Please check your trigger warnings. They are no joke in this story. They are real, not dark romance. We haven't crossed that boundary, but it is not a happy home that she comes from. And part of her journey is breaking free from this abusive relationship and starting the process of healing herself so that she can move forward with Dion. Neither of them like each other at the beginning of the story. Neither of them really want to get married, but there is this resigned feeling between the two of them of we have to make the best of this situation. Now, once they do spend time together, there's some chemistry. There's some attraction. There's a lot of possessive shit from Dion. If you love a possessive MMC, Dion is your man. He is absolutely not messing around when it comes to Faye and other people around her and his relationship with her. He is determined to keep her once he has her. I didn't realize this book was gonna get as spicy as it did. It was basically nonstop. Once they got together, it's just nonstop. It's constant. It is a 3, and I'm honestly debating whether or not it should be a 3.5, but I'm leaving it as a 3 because it didn't feel like we pushed past the there's more spice than plot. There's a lot of spice and good spice. Catharina Maura writes really good, realistic spice. There's a lot of external stimulation, if you know what I'm saying. And I appreciate that because that's realistic. That's what you need. That's what people with vulvas often need in order to achieve climax. And if that's your goal, then external stimulation during penetrative sex, you want to have it. You want to see it. You want to know that you're not alone in needing it, which you aren't. You aren't alone. Anyway, the billionaire situation is not always my favorite, and I do find that some of these tropes, these micro trope moments between the Windsors they're just part of the genre, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're just honestly not my favorite to watch. This is a very insular family for good reasons. They have a lot of influence, they have a lot of money, they really protect each other. However, that means that there's a lot of unrealistic that happens. There are things that just could never be achieved. Do I appreciate that they're happening when Faye's dad is coming for her and trying to mess up her life? Do they band together to protect her with everything at their disposal? Yes, and I like that. The Windsors prove, not just Dion, the Windsors prove that they are here for Faye and they are here to take care of her and that she is automatically one of them. And given the age gap, given the history, given the cool feelings between her and Dion, I found that really kind of the family to do so. This family intrigues me because of the arranged marriages that they have through Grandma, and this book sets up the next one. So I want to continue with the next story and see what happens. Also, she hinted that this next book is a little bit heavier, and makes me nervous, but also makes me excited. I don't want to talk about this book so much because I don't want to ruin things for you, but I also want to talk to you about this book because I loved it so much. I definitely did not take enough notes. I was just too engrossed in the story. This book did not feel like the second book in a series in the best way. Rule of the Aurora King by Nisha J. Tuli is book 2 of 4 in the Artifacts of Oranos. No idea if I'm saying that correctly. Trial of the Sun Queen was the first book and I inhaled it. Loved that book. We left on a bit of a cliffhanger. So if you haven't read it or you don't want spoilers, please fast forward, put it on mute. But, understand things will be ruined for Trial of the Sun Queen by listening to this review. After being kidnapped from the Sun Kingdom by Nadir, Lore is trapped in his house and absolutely not here for it. She understands that Atlas was using her. She has been told by the mirror that she has a greater mission to find the heart crown, the crown of heart, and to fulfill her destiny as what we haven't officially been told but can probably assume is her lineage to the Heart Queen and whatever happened in the past. We don't know, but we do get that point of view in this book. This book is Nadir and Lore point of view, and now Sacra, or Cersei, I'm not 100% sure. You can look, I've spelled it out for you, who is the Heart Queen who broke the world. I'll deal with her later, or maybe not at all in this review, because it's very exciting. But for Lore and Nadir, who seem to be our FMC and our MMC, things are tense. Nadir is looking for answers from Lore. Lore is refusing to give answers. She is insisting on her brother and sister being released from the prison where they had been living for over a decade and being returned to her. That is a hard ask for Nadir and his compatriots, but they deliver. So once they're all reunited, and also once Lore and her siblings reveal who they are, they work together to find the heart crown, the crown of heart. They are in the Aurora kingdom, the kingdom that has held her and her siblings prisoner for years. There's a lot of accountability that Lore calls out for Nadir on. The conditions of the prison, the conditions of his people. How is he better than his father? Lore has a lot of trauma from Nadir's dad, the Aurora King, and she holds Nadir accountable, rightly and wrongly so. They also have this very intense connection. Their magic speaks to each other. They are attracted to each other. They are drawn to one another. The tension is tensioning in this story. Let me just say, the tension is tensioning in this story. Now, there is some spice, but there's no... I'm not going to say there's no spice. There is definitely spice, but there's no penetration in this story between Lore and Nadir. Sorry if that ruins it for you. We do get Cersei and her fated mate. Yep, fated mates. It's a thing in this story. I'm so excited. And that history. Now, the history of the Heart Queen adds some drama to this tale. We don't really know what happened. We don't know what caused magic to disappear. We don't know what Heart was doing at the time. We don't know. And that mystery is being solved in this book, this point of view that we're getting through Cersei. I really don't know if that's her name. Book 3 is already out. Book 4 comes out at the end of November, and y'all know that I am going to be ready for book 4 because I'm reading book 3 at the beginning of next month. I can't wait. I just want to know how it ends. Do you see this spice rating? It's so great. Last year for Dark December, I remember looking for queer romance books that are dark that I could read in that month, and very few people had recommendations for me. Well, I have one for you now. It is Chokehold. It's so dark. I have found a new automatic to dark romance trope that if it is in a book for me, it is automatic dark. I will get to it. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on the internet. Quite honestly, it's so dark. Not only is this dark, it is also taboo. It is a stepbrothers romance. The only thing that makes this palatable for me is that they didn't grow up together. Their parents married when they were in their mid to late teens, so they were already established as humans. It's not a childhood situation like some other romance novels, but they hate each other. It's Cole and Blaze. Cole's mom married Blaze's dad. Cole's bio dad is also an abusive prick. Cole hates Blaze. He's a year or so older, and they have beef. And this book starts off with Cole trying to beat the crap out of Blaze. They beat each other up so much in this book. They just absolutely kick the shit out of each other multiple times. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of violence. I didn't mention it's a dark. They also both have girlfriends. They're dating women at the time of this book, and it starts with they're at some party at college because they go to college together, but they live at home. Someone decides to play a game of chase, so there are masked men automatically as well. Cole is one of the chasers, and Blaze is one of the runners, and Cole finds Blaze and plows his face. I don't know how to say it. I want to say it with the F word, but just plows his face. And that is the start of this. There's a secret identity situation. There's a found out. There's obviously cheating on the girlfriends. So if cheating is a thing for you, sorry, it does exist in this book. And it's dark. It's darky, dark, dark. It is also incredibly spicy. Look at my spice rating. Look at this spice rating. It definitely crossed the line of more spice than plot. Am I mad about it? No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's violent, incredibly angsty spice, but it is so spicy. Okay. All right. I don't know why I just looked over there. Like someone's going to come and find me. Here's the thing that for me is now automatic pushes from morally gray to dark, because it is a spectrum and authors can label whatever, but I have an opinion. The dark romance line has typically been if a love interest kidnaps another love interest, and that is the line that I draw. If not, it's usually just morally gray. If so, dark romance. Here's my next one. If a bodily fluid that is red is used as a lubricant, that is now an automatic dark romance for me. I'm blushing. I can't even with this story. Honestly, at the end of it, I'm rooting for them. I want them to succeed. I want them to be together. I feel like they heal each other. But wow, is it dark. I also won't say it's kinky. It's violent. Their intimacy is violent. It's not kinky. It's not negotiated. There are no dynamics. It is just violent against each other. I liked it. I like this. I couldn't sleep. 1:30 in the morning, decided to start this book. It's been on my e-reader for a while, and I thought, you know what, I don't even remember why I put it on my e-reader. Let me just read it. So I've read it. And suddenly it was 4:40 in the morning. This had me in a chokehold. Oh, what a sweet novella. I finished the Midnight Heat trilogy by Talia Hibbert. I read them out of order. I will say The Princess Trap, which is the one I read first, is still my favorite. But this is The Roommate Risk. This story is a friends to lovers, forced proximity situation novella. So very fast. It's less than 300 pages. Jasmine's flat gets water damaged and she ends up crashing with her best friend Rahul for the weeks it takes for her room to be fixed. The chapters happening in the now are interspersed with chapters that happened along the way of their relationship. We start at the beginning when they met, and a few other vignettes along the way that showcase how the relationship has evolved and how it hasn't over the years. Rahul has been in love with Jasmine pretty much since the day that they met, about 7 years, and Jasmine has been holding Rahul back. She has a lot of baggage from her own parents. Her parents split. Her mother left her, quite literally abandoned her with her father, does not contact, does not want to. And she has a lot of negative feelings about herself because of it. She's never dated. She's never been in a relationship. She holds everybody at bay. While they met when they were in college, they hooked up once. She gave Rahul the choice. You get to be my friend or you get to be my lover. You don't get to be both. And Rahul, already in love with her, said, I don't want to risk you getting bored with me as a lover, so I'm going to choose friend. And they've been friends for the last 7 years, never crossing that boundary until they are roommates. Suddenly, it's a risky roommate. And the tension between them grows and evolves and eventually comes to a head. And they start this exclusive hookup situationship where Rahul is determined to show Jasmine that she loves him too, and Jasmine is just living in her own little world, totally oblivious. This is another one of those third act breakups that I appreciated because while the breakup sucked, in the 2 months of the breakup, they separately worked on themselves to be the best version of themselves just in general. Jasmine realized she needed to actually get a therapist to help her with her issues. And Rahul realized he'd been living for Jasmine and he needed to establish who he was without her during this separation. He didn't want to have everything about him be in relation to her. Like with most Talia Hibbert books, this spice is spicing. This I feel like is even spicier than The Princess Trap and certainly than The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco, which is shorter because it starts pretty early and it continues over this story. Talia Hibbert writes fairly realistic sex. She writes human bodies in all of their forms and all of their shapes, which is really exciting. I loved the thick thighs and tiny boobs. My boobs are non-existent. In terms of support, I don't have to wear this bra. I wear this bra for you. And legally. Having someone's body just be worshipped for everything that we are told are flaws is healing in a certain way. Like, I love all the thighs that are covered in stretch marks, and I love them. Not because they're covered in stretch marks, not in spite of the stretch marks, just they are thighs with stretch marks, and I love them. It really makes me look at my tiger stripes in a slightly different way. Their relationship is sweet and wonderful. This was a friends to lovers that made sense to me. They hooked up right at the beginning, so there was automatically sexual tension. It wasn't like someone didn't see the appeal of the other, but the timing was wrong, and the emotional maturity of especially Jasmine was just not there for her to open herself up to a relationship with Rahul. So the time that she needed, the 7 years that it took, oh my God, 7 years, Rahul, you are a gentleman. I understood where it was coming from. Rahul does some lovely grand gestures. He takes her out. He really listens. You can tell that their relationship is different. Their dynamic is different. They respect each other. They appreciate each other, and they see each other for the most part, except for the whole relationship thing, in a way that others don't. I am thrilled that this series is over. If you want my recommendation in terms of my not least favorite, because just like in order to my most favorite, it is the fake boyfriend fiasco, the roommate risk, and then the princess trap, which, like I said, I think is the best one, and I kind of want to go reread it.